Hey, it's Soul with a guide to opening up the ability to farm for tons of new old transmog and recipes from Scholomance and Naxxramas. A huge thanks goes to the Secret Finding Discord for uncovering the steps, and to Wowhead for publishing their own guide. I'm here to just kind of give a different take, maybe address a few questions that people might have. There's a lot going on, so if you could, hit the like button, subscribe for more WoW coverage, and listen up. This is a multi-stage guide that starts off in Scholomance, it takes you to Stratholme, and finally Naxxramas. Use the navigation below to get to what's good. So let's dive in, starting with choosing a character to do these unlocks on. There are a few steps that you can skip if you've already done them on certain characters, so you want to choose a character who had already earned the Argent Dawn commission and or the Spectral Essence from the vanilla times. If you have Scourge Stones, that helps a ton too, but if these don't sound familiar, don't worry, we're going to cover it all, just that having these items beforehand will save a good bit of time and gold. There's a toy called Krastanov's Bag of Horrors. It's obtained by defeating a rare boss in Heroic Scholomance. If you already have this, great, double check. And if you have a buddy who has this, also great, because they can help you out. But we'll start with the guide assuming that you do not have it. This toy is needed, so off to Heroic Scholomance you go. Since the rare only appears on Heroic difficulty, you may need to bring multiple high-level characters to keep trying over and over again until you get the toy. This rare appears in the room after the Rattlegore boss, and the toy has a 100% drop chance. Once you have it, great, leave the instance and switch to normal difficulty. As a little trick, you can create a temporary group on the group finder and then leave the, quote, group. You'll then be teleported to the nearest graveyard shortly after, if you want to exit a little bit faster. Anyway, return to the normal Scholomance and progress to the last boss room. On the room right behind him, on the second floor, you're going to find a little bone kind of thing that's slightly discovered. Use the Bag of Horrors toy near the bone and an NPC will appear. Then right-click on the buff to return to your normal form. The NPC will still be there and its behavior will change. It's going to give you a task to collect a bunch of items, and it also gives you an item, an inert spectral essence. If you already have a spectral essence, it's a trinket, that's great. If not, you're going to need a few items that you can find or grab from the auction house. First though, you want to backtrack a little bit and retrieve Ava's journal. It's just before the last boss's room in what kind of looks like a lecture hall. And here's a tip. I advise turning on the interact key, as well as make it display an icon whenever you're close to something that you can interact with. That way this handy gear will appear whenever you're close to something that is otherwise hard to find. It's kind of cheating, but not really, oh well. Ava's journal is over here on the bookshelf in this corner. If it's not there for some reason, maybe it's because you're trying to do a little bit too much in the same instance lock, so at worst leave the instance, reset it, and return to this spot, and the journal should be there. The task, not quest, but a task that you're given is to trade with 5 NPCs around Caer Darrow, that's the area surrounding Scholomance, and they're asking for certain items, and will give a candle in return. In order to see them, you need a completed Spectral Essence, as I mentioned earlier. If you have it, put it on. If not, you're going to need a few items that you can easily buy from the auction house. You don't have to do this right away either, there isn't a quest to pick up like I said, but you are going to need this trinket equipped when you want to start trading these items. Remember, the interact key is pretty boss here, it's going to make your life a little bit easier. So let's get these items and knock everything out at once. Over at the southern part of Caer Darrow, on the fountain is a bucket. That is one item that you need. In nearby Andor Hall, there's a town hall. Inside is the Rattlegore NPC, but to your right is a piece of paper hanging on a wall. Pick that up. Now head over to Eastern Plaguelands and Darrowshire to the south. Near a meat wagon, there's a doll-looking thing by a wheel, and that's your third item. The fourth item is in Corrin's Crossing, to the northeast inside the inn. On the first floor near the kitchen, there's a painting hanging on a wall. Pick that up. Finally, head over to the Stratholme dungeon and enter through the regular entrance. Hang a couple of lefts towards this location here on the map. There, you're going to find a box near the end of that hall and pick that up. With these 5 items, return to Caer Darrow and start trading with the NPCs. They're a little bit spread out, so here are the relative locations over here on the map. You should now have 5 candles, a journal, and a bone. With all this stuff, return to Scholomance, but instead of turning left towards the dungeon, hang a right towards the end of the hall, and then turn left and all the way down to a room with a grating in the middle. Use the journal and stuff is gonna happen, and a permanent fixture will be in place for you and all your characters. They can now talk to the pedestal and enter the original version of Scholomance. This unlock, as said, is account-wide, and it'll let you farm up the old instance for recipes and transmog. So congratulations, that is step 1. There's more to do. For step 2, first check if any of your characters have an Argent Dawn commission. If you do, great. If you don't, first double check that you can't just have one given to you. Talk to an Argent Dawn quartermaster at Chill One Camp for the Alliance, the Bulwark for the Horde, and they'll give you another one. If neither of these options work, all you have to do is go into Old Scholomance and progress to the Rattlegore boss. It's down in that pit with all the bones. There's a small item that you can find in the corner near the ramp that you can pick up, and remember, use the interact key display to make this easier. Here you're going to find a cracked Argent Dawn commission. Just like the Spectral Essence, you may need a few items to restore it. Once that's done, put it on, and by the way, you no longer need to use the Spectral Essence. Reset all instances and then return to Old Scholomance. Clear your way to Darkmaster Ganling, that's the final boss, and beat him up. Ganling will drop a Darkmaster's Scourge Stone, who will start a quest to turn in at Light's Hope Chapel. The quest will allow Scourge Stones to drop for you, and at every opportunity you're going to want to loot bosses to collect these Scourge Stones. Now reset instances and head to Stratholme's main entrance with the Argent Dawn trinket equipped. Get yourself a few Stratholme holy water in the crates throughout the instance. You need like 3 minimum, but if you want to pick up like 5 or so, that's great. As you're wandering around, you want to find an Eye of Naxxramas. The easiest way is to just kill a bunch of mobs, and then when you see the Eye of Naxxramas yell something on the chat log, you know you killed it, and it's somewhere in the pile of bodies. You want to loot it. It drops a Ward of Naxxramas, which you'll need later. Progress towards the Scarlet Cathedral, but don't go inside. Over to the left of the cathedral is a closed gate. You want to head over there. Use the Ward of Naxxramas that you looted, and a black kind of foggy thing will appear. What you're going to do is take the holy water and just chuck it onto the area where the foggy stuff is, but first, I should tell you what's up. After throwing this, you're going to get a 5-minute debuff. You now have 5 minutes to progress all the way to the other side of Stratholme and then complete it, which involves the following. Defeating each boss guarding the ziggurats and the NPCs inside, and then progress towards Rivendare, which means clearing the A-bombs, defeating the boss that comes out, quickly taking out the ghouls that come out from the gate to the left, remember that, clearing the Skelly Knights that come out of the slaughterhouse, then you run in and defeat Rivendare, return to the gate where those ghouls came out, and then use the Argent Dawn trinket to kill a special NPC inside. Yeah, so you might want to rewind a little bit. But basically, once you throw the holy water, you have 5 minutes to go to the dead side of Stratholme and clear the whole thing, followed by the extra NPC. You're not able to hit it with normal attacks, so you have to use the trinket from your inventory or hotkey or whatever. It might take a few tries, and you might want to consider using a more mobile or faster class or speed potions and so on. And as for the route, this is the order of bosses that I took to achieve victory. I have been told that it does not work if you try to pre-clear the instance and then do this sequence. I haven't tried it myself, but you're welcome to give it a go. I happened to do this as a paladin and I had time to spare, but I did not bother looting anything, including Scourge Stones. If you mess up and otherwise run out of time, you're going to need to reset the instance and try again, but it's not the end of the world. You might just need to fill up your holy water, and you definitely need to pick up a new ward. Once you defeat the bonus mob, you're going to see an emote that says that you should share what happened with someone, so let's go find them. Progress to Light's Hope Chapel and find someone named Archmage Angela DeSantos. If she's not there, progress to Tier's Hand over to the south. I happen to find her just outside the entrance. Tell her what happened and she'll start a quest to unlock a Naxxramas teleport. The quest will depend on your reputation standing. I happen to be exalted, so it didn't cost me anything, but according to Wowhead, here are the requirements if your reputation is lower, although I don't know what happens if your rep is even lower than this. Anyway, turning in this quest will create a teleport crystal a little ways outside Stratholme. It's a little bit weird, but no biggie. With this, you and your other characters can utilize this teleport that takes you to and from Naxxramas. Nice and easy. And this concludes part 2. So welcome to Naxxramas for the umpteenth time. 10.15 features some new drops and recipes that can be sold in the auction house, but for now let's focus on the last account-wide unlocks. Before entering Naxx, make sure that you have at least 2 Stratholme Holy Water, 20 Invader Scourge Stones, 3 Dark Runes, and 1 Black Coffee. The Scourge Stones are from the Stratholme and Scholomance dungeons, while the runes and coffee you can get from the auction house. You're going to need them later. First, we're going to make a special grappling hook by finding certain items in the raid. So run through the Spider Quarter and defeat Grand Widow Ferolina. She drops one of the items. A little ways into the Construct Quarter, look to the right at those metal tanks. A hook-like object is hanging from it. Walk up to it and pick it up, and then progress to the next room where Patchwork is, and fish the slime rivers there. Eventually, you're going to get an Abomination's Chain. With all 3 items, combine them to create the grappling hook and then use that item to activate grappling hook capabilities across your account. Before moving on, make sure that you have 5 Corruptor's Scourge Stones on you by defeating raid bosses here, or if you have them from the before times. Now you need to find a certain NPC. Progress through the Construct Quarter and into Thaddeus's room. I'm not 100% sure if you have to defeat Thaddeus first, I just happen to, but whatever the case, on the left platform when you enter the room, you're going to see a grappling point above and towards the left-hand wall. Again, the interact key makes this really easy to spot. Instead of explaining, I'll just show footage of the route that I took in order to get to this NPC. You're going to be climbing this room, which is pretty wild, kinda neat, but here's the clip at slightly increased speed. Once you get to the NPC, use the holy water on him. He's going to wake up and give you a quest to provide the items that I told to bring with you, the Scourge Stones, the runes, and the coffee. If you have them all in hand, great, you saved a bunch of time, so turn them in right away, and you've now fully unlocked the crafting features of 10.1.5, sort of. So here's what's going on in Naxx. The second NPC will now hang around just inside the Naxx entrance. There's also a portal that takes you back to the Eastern Plaguelands if you so choose. Zacket will ask for Scourge Stones of both types, found in Scholo, Strath, and Naxx, and you no longer need to use the Argent Dawn trinket to farm them. Turning in 1 Raid Scourge Stone will give you a Death's Bargaining chip. Turning in 10 Dungeon Scourge Stones will give you 1 as well. These Death's Bargaining chips are tradable account-wide, and now all of your alts have this sort of access, so here's kind of the plan. You can park a bunch of alts just outside of Naxx and do multiple clears of the raid each week at 15 Scourge Stones per alt, trade them for the bargaining chips, and then funnel all the chips to the character of your choice to spend on stuff. And that's the busy work, but what about how this turns into tier? It's actually quite the process. First, you need lamented pieces. You'll be purchasing dented raiders gear from this Zacket vendor for 3 Death's Bargaining chips apiece. And it's a loot box. You might get a lamented piece. You might get a green or even a gray piece of loot. That's your risk at what's basically like 5 rolls per alt for every full clear of Naxx. You can decide here if you want to get the appearances or make money. I usually advise making money first, and then as prices settle, keep the stuff for yourself. But okay, yeah, let's say you have some of this lamented stuff. What now? Now you need to combine it with one of the 4 special materials depending on the class that you're making the set for. But you might want to slow down a bit and hold on to your chips. Because to get these materials, you can't just make them yourself. Only someone who has already fully unlocked a tier 3 set can make these materials for you, and it can only be done via crafting order. Say what? Yeah, so let me explain. There are recipes that you can buy from this vendor here that let you make the special materials that people want. The items themselves are bind-on pickups that can only be required through crafting orders. However, to even buy the recipes, you need this feat of strength, Drop Dead Gorgeous, which is basically means that you've completed a tier 3 set by either farming the original Naxx, buying pieces from the black market auction house, or a little bit of both. But anyone who does have these sets, well, they're also going to need to have the profession to make these items, and to also have the recipe, obviously, which means that they're going to need to go through this whole attunement process as well, which leads to, early on, not a lot of people are going to have this. Like, who knows where they're at or what server they're on? At the moment, cross-crafting orders are not a thing, which would totally be a solve for this issue, but today, it's not, so today kind of sucks. I mean, I do have what I think is a solution, and I'll share this a little bit later. Organically, and with time, this will resolve itself, but without cross-realm work orders, it might take a while. For now though, let's get back to the steps. You're going to need a special reagent made with its own sort of materials. Fortunately though, you only need one per tier piece. By combining one of these items with a piece of lamented gear, you then create a new item, and in my case, it's a desecrated piece. You also happen to get one right away after attuning as sort of a freebie. Here you can see a few more additional requirements: phylacter weave and righteous orbs. Righteous orbs are familiar, they're not so big of a deal, but phylacter weave is a vendor item going at 2,000 gold a pop, and just for these bracers you need 70 of these things. According to Wowhead, you would need 2.8 million gold in vendor materials on top of the cost of the other reagents to make a complete set. It's pretty crazy, but well, so was hawking over the black market auction house. Blizzard is being consistent, they're not messing around, and they're not being shy about wanting tier 3 sets to be a big gold sink. Here's what you can do if you want these appearances sooner than later. First thing you want to do is locate a crafter who can make the materials that you want. You probably want to talk up pricing and their availability so you don't lose them. From there, because the currency is account bound, you want to transfer your chips and gold to a character on that particular server where that crafter is. The character that you're using would at least need to be able to enter Naxxramas to initiate the trades for the lamented gear, and buy materials from the region auction house to give to the crafter so they can make you the special reagents. Putting the reagents and the lamented gear together will make the token that still needs the phylacter weave and the righteous orbs, but these tokens are account tradable and they can at least go back to your home server, so you'll want to send them back and finish the process there. It's a pain in the butt, right? But at the moment, that's the way to go. It's a fairly involved process with a lot of farming and even more gold involved, with steps that might be impossible to pass if you don't happen to know the right people. It is a lot. My advice is, as usual, is to take advantage of the hype and make money off selling lamented pieces. Interested buyers are going to look far and wide and take advantage of tracking websites as well as cross-realm trading to find your pieces across realms, so I say don't be shy about letting an auction sit for 2 days. On the other side of it, folks have been waiting for tier 3 this long. I'm sure they could wait a little bit longer, make some gold, and then use these profits for that vendor material cost, or don't, just make that money and, I don't know, buy a BlizzCon virtual ticket, whatever you want. That's the guide, and I know I didn't cover things like mounts and whatnot, there are plenty of guides there. I just wanted to focus on the unlocks and the general tier stuff. If I made a big mistake, please let me know in a comment and I will wear my shame with pride. Please like the video if it was helpful, subscribe for more coverage, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.